So our presenters today, my name is Dana Margaritas. I'm the manager of building permits. Our presenters today are Tarek Shalon. He's the assistant manager of plans exam. Justin Norfleet. He's one of our senior engineer and architects, specializing in the structural engineering work group. Heather Shea is our building permit specialist, specializing in the permit issuance work group. Selena Sodif is one of our management assistants. Stacy Rainwater is our supervising building permit specialist, supervising the plan submittal work group. Maria Caseco is an assistant planning manager with the comprehensive planning department. Lori Bush is a building permit specialist, specializing in the fee workup work group. And instead of Vince Brado presenting today, we're going to have Matt Brewer, who is our manager of inspections. And then we have Natalia Cortez. She's an office specialist with our customer service work group. Freestanding wall and monument signs. The International Building Code Appendix H defines a sign as any letter, symbol, figure, mark, design, poster, picture, line, trademark, text, illuminated display, or similar feature that is created, attached, painted, erected, or displayed in any way outdoors to attract public attention to a person, place, business, event, product, service, or item. All signs must be categorized and comply with the specific requirements for their classification under this chapter. The complete definition is on the screen. This appendix also defines different types of signs, such as combination signs, display signs, electric signs, ground sign, pole sign, portable display surface, projecting sign, roof sign, sign structures, and wall signs. IBC location restrictions. Signs shall not obstruct fire escapes or any windows, doors, or openings used as a means of egress, or signs are not to be placed to interfere with any opening required for ventilation. So some different examples of signs. We have the wall sign, where the Mandalay Bay, the monument sign, an example of a roof sign, a structure sign, which is the sphere. We have a freestanding illuminated pylon sign, and then also a portable sign. Plan submittal. So let me introduce you to Stacy.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to talk about submittal. So Dana did a good job at running down all the various types of signs. I just want to point out that even though it's a sign, sometimes it might not require a permit, right? So we want to make sure that when we're having any questions about what requires a permit and what doesn't, you can always reach out to us at Plan Submittal, or on the next slide, we have our list of exemptions. So things that would be, or signs rather, that would be exempt from requiring a building permit would include the ones here. So mobile or portable sign, vinyl signage, you just stick to the side of the building, certain construction signs that are 32 square foot or less, and so on. For a full list of exemptions, you can check that link out there. That's to our building administrative code. It, again, lists out all the exemptions, including signs. So if you're ever not sure and you can't get a hold of us, that's a great resource as well. Next slide. So just want to point out, this might be new to some of the fence contractors that have been around for a while, but we've begun requiring separate signs for the pylon or those large freestanding signs versus the signs that are going to be on your building or your wall signs. So if you have questions about that, just give us a call. We'll try to walk you through any questions you have, but basically it's quite simple. If you have a pylon sign, you're going to need a separate permit, commercial sign permit, and then you'd want to set those from your wall signs. And again, going into the separate permit requirement, sometimes you'll have a situation like this where you have a block wall and a monument sign is being attached to or adhered to a block wall. So that wouldn't be covered under one sign permit, right? You would need a separate fence permit for that block wall portion, and then your sign guy is going to come in and apply for the sign permit. So when you're applying for the sign permit, you might want to reference the block wall permit number if you have it, just to avoid delays or requests for additional information when we're trying to get this processed for you. Again, if you have questions on that, give us a call and we can walk you through that, or an email. Next slide, please. And then here's a copy of the sign permit application form. When you're applying for your sign, all the information, sometimes more information is better than not giving us. We're going to end up sending it back, which is just going to cause delays. So if you notice at the top, we give you a check mark for whether it's illuminated or not illuminated, and that just kind of helps us ensure that we're getting electrical plans with that, etc. So all these little areas, you want to make sure that you at least give us something, right? So the location, who's applying for the permit, a description of the work. You want to make sure, typically it's the sign contractor who's applying, right? You typically have too many architects or anything applying for a sign. So you want to make sure you fill out your contractor declaration. You want to tell us the size and types of signs. And then for flagpoles, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the bottom portion there. We have a separate portion for flagpoles. And then of course we need your valuation. One thing to note is that if you are a sign contractor and you're applying for to put a flagpole on a residential, neighborhood and for a house homeowner or something like that, the permit type required for that wouldn't be a sign. It would be a residential building, new miscellaneous structure. And I know you guys don't really apply for those types of permits too often, but it's real simple. It's very, same as applying for any other permit. But again, give us a call if you have problems getting through because of contractor licensing issues or anything that's going to stop you from applying or giving you an error. Just reach out to us and we'll get you going. Okay. Next slide. I think that might be it for me. Oh, okay. So, a lot of times you might think, oh, it's just a sign. I don't really need plans, right? No, you need plans. So we want to make sure that we're collecting a complete set of plans for your sign. That's going to include your site plan, elevations, method of attachment, your electrical plans if it's illuminated, and then your structural plans and calcs depending, on what type of sign it is. And then if you're doing a demo, of course, we'll need your demo authorization letter, but of course that's as applicable. So again, if you're not sure, if you have questions about what's required for your permit type or for your particular sign, give us a call, send us an email, and we'll help you out.
Thank you, Stacy. And there's the plan submittal email. It's eplansubmittal@clarkcountynv.gov. And now plans exam, and I'm going to introduce you to Tarek.
Good afternoon. For signs, we require a site plan as has been stated earlier, and the site plan should include dimensions, indicate a north arrow, indicate all the streets and the location of all the signs, all the property lines, all existing structures, and all setbacks if the sign is freestanding. Do not use an aerial photo in lieu of the site plan. Sometimes it's not legible when reproduced, although they may be submitted as a general location map or supplement to the site plan. Scale drawings may be required later if needed. For the sign design, indicate the sign dimensions and the square footage or the sign area. This should be broken down by sign type. Indicate the type of sign that is, whether it's channel letters, cabinet, pylon, wall mounted, freestanding, etc. Clearance bars, I think we forgot to include that. That also counts as signs. And provide specifications, scope of work that includes the total number of signs. Include elevations with all dimensions, with wall dimensions, width of tenant lease space, and location of the signage on the wall. Indicate the method of attachment, installation instructions. If it's wall mounted, double-sided tape and adhesives are not an approved attachment method unless material specifications a note otherwise. So you would have to give us the specs on the adhesive that you're using, and it would have to be specific. You have to basically state that it's okay for this use. Indicate whether the sign is illuminated or non-illuminated. For the electrical plan or drawings, indicate the power supply, size and location for illuminated signs. Provide the location and type of disconnect switch, and it should be at the point of entry to a sign, within sight of the sign, or within sight of the controller. If out of line of sight, the disconnecting means shall be lockable. Fire protection reports, if a freestanding sign impacts site access or the property, a fire protection report may be required. For tenant improvements, the following interior signs are exempt from a fire protection report. That's light transmitting plastic sign, interior signs less than 100 square feet, LED signs less than 500 square feet. For revisions, revisions to increase or decrease the area or number of signs permitted initially is not allowed. So we're going to reject a revision that either increases or decreases the area of the sign or reduces the number. Revisions to relocate or move signs from their permitted location are allowed. So we have a typo there, Dana, on the revision T.
Oh, okay, we'll get that fixed.
And for any questions, you can email us at buildingservices@clarkcountymd.gov or call the number 455-8011. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarek. Now we're gonna discuss zoning, so here's Maria.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. And most of the things are mentioned in architecture by Tarek because we review the same plans. So mostly I will just explain the types of signs. Okay, freestanding sign and monument sign. Freestanding sign is a sign anchored to the ground or supported by posts or columns or other vertical structures and not attached to or dependent on support from any building. A monument sign, a freestanding sign with a base no less than 50% of the sign's width that is consistent with architectural style of the top of the sign, and a sign exceeding the permissible height or area of a monument sign or with a base less than 50% of the sign structure width shall be considered a freestanding sign. Next. Wall sign, a sign displayed on a building facade, including on a window or door. Measuring building elevation or face. Allowable sign area for most wall signs is a percentage of the building elevation or face per Title 30-0502Q. Measurements shall be taken vertically from grade to the top of a parapet or mansard wall or to the bottom of the eaves for a pitched roof and horizontally across the entire width of the building elevation or face. Okay, and on the side there, on the right-hand side, that is just a section in the code. Okay, we go to, yeah, it's okay. Let's go next. Purpose of the sign. I think most of the sign, some people have mentioned this is just how Title 30 says the purpose of the sign is to promote health, safety, and general welfare of visitors and the citizens of Clark County, to promote traffic and pedestrian safety, promote commerce and economic development, and promote aesthetically pleasing and compatible signage. That's why sometimes you are told this sign is not big, is big or small, reduced, or is gonna impede traffic and those kind of things. So that is why Title 30 put this one, the purpose. Next. Applicability. In areas subject to residential adjacency standards, freestanding signs shall not exceed a height of 20 feet, shall not be placed within 60 feet of an area subject to residential adjacency, and are prohibited on lots measuring less than 1 acre in size within a residential zoning district. Next. Design standards for all signs. Required mounting for all signs. Signs shall be mounted to a freestanding support structure. The vertical elements, bracing, and support structures of all signs shall, one, be constructed of materials similar or complementary to materials of the overall development. Two, use architectural features and elements that are similar or complementary to the architecture of the overall development. Three, utilize colors, finishes, or textures that are similar or complementary to the overall development. And four, be covered with the cladding to conceal the actual pole or structural support. The cladding must integrate the colors, materials, architectural features, or other appropriate design components of the overall development. Next. Explanation of permanent freestanding monument sign table. These tables depict the freestanding and monument sign types with the applicable standards by zoning district. P normally indicates that the sign type is permissible in the corresponding zoning districts. A blank cell indicates that the sign type is not permissible in that district unless a sign design review is approved per Title 30-0607A. If a setback distance is not specified in the table below, zoning district setback apply. In a commercial complex, for the purpose of determining applicable sign regulations or area within a commercial complex or on parcel with multiple tenants should be considered to be on the same property and shall be treated as a single development. Next. Building and property frontage, unless otherwise stated, for any sign area calculation based on the length of street frontage, a parcel with the frontage on more than one street may only use the length of one frontage for determining the permissible sign area. Next. Clearance. The minimum clearance of a sign shall be measured from the horizontal surface of the ground to the lowest portion of the horizontal projection of the sign. In pedestrian areas, the minimum clearance is 9 feet for any freestanding or projecting sign. See Figure 3005-1. Signs located in areas subject to vehicular traffic must have a minimum clearance of 14 feet. And that is the figure 3005-1, that is for clearance and freestanding sign. Okay, next. Height. The vertical measurements from the finished grade at the base of the sign to the highest point of the sign structure shall determine the sign structure height. Exception, if a sign structure is mounted within 20 feet of a street that has a higher grade level than the site, the sign structure height shall be measured from the grade level of the street to the highest point of the sign structure. See Figure 3005-2. The base of the monument sign or a project entrance sign is not included in the calculation of the maximum permissible sign height. Look at check reference figure 3005-2 that shows the measuring sign height. Next. Sign area. Maximum area is applied per individual sign unless otherwise specified. Sign with the frame or cabinet. The area of a sign is based on outer dimension of the frame or cabinet surrounding the sign surface area. The total sign area is the smallest geometric shape or the sum of the combination of regular geometric shapes, which comprises the cabinet or frame of the sign. The allowable signs area of the multiple-sided sign is not the sum of each face, but shall be calculated as follows. 1. Typical double-sided sign, the area of one face. Double-sided or V-shaped sign whose faces form an interior angle no greater than 90 degrees, the area of the largest single face. Double-sided or V-shaped sign whose face form an interior angle greater than 90 degrees, the area of both faces. More than two-sided sign, 50% of the sign of the area of all sign faces. Next. Grading and civil plans. Freestanding and monument sign may be required to be shown on grading plans, and setback must be shown to comply with the zoning they are located. Civil plans for new projects doing offsites, they will be required to show the freestanding or monument signs with their respective required setback, property lines, right-of-way lines, site zone, and landscaping easement. Next. Okay, sign always is not a happy camper. So always, if you have question for zoning, that is our email, cpzoning@clarkcounty.nv.gov, or call us at 702-455-4314 and select plan examination. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Mhm.
And now we're gonna go over engineering. So here's Justin.
Thanks, Dana. So I'm going to go over the engineering requirements for freestanding and wall signs and how they apply to special inspections, and then also go over what is required for wall signs that are attached to existing walls. And then I'll talk about the geotechnical requirements, including design criteria and footing requirements. And then I'll go over the construction document and special inspection requirements and how they pertain to inspections in the shop and field based on approved and unapproved fabricators. Next. So for freestanding signs, a Nevada design professional needs to design all signs if the height of the sign is greater than 10 feet or if the cabinet is larger than 100 square feet. And then if the cabinet has a dimension that's greater than 12 feet, then we'll also need engineered calculations for those. And most of the information that's going to be presented on these slides references the Clark County Code Interpretation 208 for the design and special inspections of signs, which can be found in the Clark County Building Department library online, or it's linked here if the access to this presentation is provided. And I'll note that it was revised in January. So there are a couple of things on the slides that are marked and to pay attention to if you're already a little familiar with how signs work with Clark County. Next. So one of the new things with freestanding signs is that for building built-in canopies, it's noted in the code interpretation that now it needs to be shown that they're designed for a roof point load of 300 pounds. And then if the canopy is larger than 50 square feet, then it will need a roof live load per the IBC table 1607.1. A geotechnical report is required for all freestanding signs with a height greater than 40 feet. And then the design and soils report should conform to the current adopted building code and local amendments of Clark County. For wall signs, an RDP shall design the connections of the wall signs if any of these are met, if the ground level to the bottom of the sign exceeds 30 feet, if any sign element has an area exceeding 100 square feet again, and then, or if a cabinet dimension exceeds 12 feet. And of course, the calculations for the cabinet are required if the maximum cabinet dimension exceeds 12 feet. And then engineering may require design for other reasons at the building official's requirement. For wall signs attached to existing walls, we'll need the design per the code interpretation that we've already gone over, and then we'll need design of the anchorage to this of the sign to the wall, and then we'll need an evaluation of the existing wall, unless it's already, well, of course it's already permitted, but if you can provide the Clark County permit number, then we can look up the wall on there and ensure that it's been designed for the wall, the sign, the loads that the sign is going to impart on the wall. Next. For geotechnical design criteria, the geotechnical investigation shall be conducted in accordance of the IBC sections 1803.2 through 1803.5. There is the Southern Nevada exception for projects that are exempted from geotechnical investigations. That's where we get the signs, light poles, and communication towers less than 40 feet in height don't need to have the geotechnical investigation. But if a geotechnical report's not provided, then we need the standard design values used of 1000 PSF for bearing, 100 PSF per foot for lateral bearing, a coefficient of lateral sliding, a coefficient of friction of 0.25, and they need to utilize sulfate exposure level of S2. And then in that design, the vertical foundation pressure and lateral bearing pressure may be increased by 1/3 for wind and seismic loads. So an update in the 2024 IBC is that previously there was a default site class. Now the ASCE 722 specifies that the most critical site conditions of site class C, CD, or D shall be used. So all three of those will need to be checked. It is more prevalent that the site class C is actually more critical in other areas outside of the valley, but they should all still be checked in the design. The minimum width and depth of footings shall be 12 inches unless greater is required by the building official. And then where applicable, the depth requirements of frost protection shall also be satisfied per the IBC. And then just a reminder that the depth of the footing is measured relative to the lowest adjacent compacted subgrade. When the construction documents are submitted, they need to include the size, section, and relative location of the structural members, as well as the design loads per IBC, and then include the material specifications, as well as a statement of special inspections. Next. So for the steel special inspections, they are not required if the sign does not meet the requirements for engineering that I went over on the first couple of slides. And that's a change where previously, and that's even if an unapproved fabricator is used. So previously, if there was an unapproved fabricator, then special inspections were required regardless of the sign size. Now, if the sign doesn't meet the requirements for engineering design, steel special inspections are not required. However, if they do meet the requirements for engineering design, then they will need special inspections. And even if an approved fabricator is used, they will still require the field inspections per our TG50 TRG steel section. And then, so that's where a statement of special inspections would still be required for steel. And then if an unapproved fabricator is used, then the special inspections will be required in the shop and in the field. Then other inspections, including concrete and epoxy bolts, are not exempted. And we'll go over those next. So for concrete special inspections, they'll be performed per the Southern Nevada Amendments and the IBC. And they aren't, so there is an exemption for footings supporting buildings less than 3 stories, where if the design utilizes a compressive strength of 2,500 or less. So even if the sign is utilizing the prescriptive values for the soils report, which require a sulfate resistance of S2, which would require 4,500 PSI. If the calculations show that the footings only require 2,500 PSI concrete, then special inspections wouldn't be required. Next. And then special inspections for the foundation are based on how the geotechnical report specifies the preparation of the footing. And then any post-installed anchors would require special inspection per the IBC and the manufacturer's test report. If you guys ever have any questions regarding the engineering of signs, there's the email and our phone number.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, so now we're going to talk about plan coordination, and here's Heather.
Hello, everyone. The permit goes to the plan coordination team to attach all required conditions. Once all the conditions are processed, the permit moves to pending fee workup status and goes to the fee workup group. Prior to permit issuance, conditions you may see applied will be a completed sign application or inspection agreement, aka QAA or third party. Next slide. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the plan coordination team at eplanissuance@clarkcountynv.gov.
Thank you, Heather. And for fee workup, I'd like to introduce you to Lori.
Everybody, this is Lori Bush, and I'll be going quickly over the fees for sign permits. Once plans exam and all the other divisions have completed their reviews and the plans are approved, we, in the fee workup group, we can now continue getting the permit ready to be issued. Although fees for signs are also based on valuation, the fees for signs differ slightly from the building permits, as you'll see in the chart below. There's a range of valuation and a specified fee. For instance, if your valuation for your sign is $50 or $499, the permit fee is $54. Of course, project valuation includes the total contract value, including materials and labor, etc., for the permit that's being issued. Plan review and zoning fees. Zoning is also conducted on the sign permits, and those fees are based off of a percentage of the permit fees. Illuminated signs also are assessed an electronic permit fee of $54. Next. Project valuations, and how you can find more information on project valuations and how the fees are calculated in our 2018 administrative code. You can go to this under our services, and then under library, under the current codes and ordinances, you can see circled there the 2018 building administrative code. And just for a note, that starts probably around page 56, goes into fees. Restamps. While working up the fees for permits, our team verifies that all plans are stamped so that a complete set is issued with the permit and is on site for the inspector. If by chance you notice a status being changed from pending fee workup to in review and restamp somewhere on that permit. This simply means that we've had to momentarily pause and have the plans restamped. These typically are completed quickly, and once done, the fee calculation is completed. Once done, our fee team will move the permit into the ready to issue status, which prompts 2 emails to be sent to the applicant contact. The first email is advising that the plans are approved and that there's an invoice attached. And then in the second email, it's advising that there's fees due, and then there's an attachment in there also that will give you any conditions that are going to be that need to be met prior to issuance. And if you have any questions regarding fees, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at ccbdpermitfees@clarkcountynv.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. And now we're going to go over permit issuance, and here's Heather again.
Hi, so once the permit is in ready to issue status, the conditions will send their requirement documents to the e-plan issuance email. To see a list of possible conditions of approval and how to meet them, you can go to our website, select services on the left side. On the next page, select permit issuance, and then select conditions of approval. Signed permits that are approved with electrical will be issued together as one permit. They are not issued as separate permits unlike other sign types issued by Clark County. You must have a Nevada licensed sign contractor with a C6, which is erecting signs classification, to obtain a sign permit. Paying fees online. Once the conditions are satisfied, the permit can be paid for by the licensed sign contractor through their citizen access portal. Only list contacts on the permit can make payments. A copy of the receipt and the permit are then emailed to the customer directly. Approved plans are available for download after the permit is issued. Next slide. If you have any questions, you can reach us at eplanissuance@clarkcountynv.gov.
Thank you, Heather. And now for inspections, here's Matt.
Good afternoon, everybody. So for inspections, we're going to perform inspections based on approved plans and documents. If you have a monument type sign, the applicable inspections are going to be a foundation inspection. It could be framing or lath if it's a site built metal stud framed and lathed sign, or masonry pre-grout if it's a CMU wall. There'll be electrical inspections required, and then to close out any permit, you need a final inspection. So we'll need final electrical, final building. Those will be contingent on your QAA final report also. Next slide, please. So foundation inspections, your large pylon signs, your big monument signs, other signs are going to have a foundation if applicable. You need soil compaction and bearing capacity that Justin talked about. We're going to verify the footing depth, the width, and the reinforcing steel installed. That takes place after the excavation, but prior to the concrete placement. And again, coordinate with your QAA inspection requirements, call them out for their inspections prior to your county inspections. Okay, next slide, please. If it's a case on or pile type, these will require a continuous special inspection during the drilling, and the reinforcing steel inspection and the anchor bolt inspection. So a lot of times, if depending on the soil class, if it's a lot of water, groundwater, or it can't be left open, then those inspections will be all performed by the third party, and they'll submit documentation after the completion. So you won't drill some of these things and leave them open for us to come look. You'll just continue through the process, and they'll submit that report when it's all complete. Okay, next slide. So if you're attaching to a structure, if it's a cabinet, then we're going to have the inspections on the construction of the sign body. That may be performed by an approved fabricator or in the shop. in the shop, but if you're a prefabricator, then it will already be done. Again, CMU will require pre-grout inspections. The prefab sign body may require anchor attachment inspections depending on what type of installation details are provided. And the metal cabinet may require welding inspections. And then the steel components should come from a prefabricator. So these are all steel sign cabinets, and they're usually manufactured in the shop. And again, if it's an approved fabricator, go through that process. If it's not approved, then there's another process that is a little more in depth, but you want to make sure you get those items inspected as it needs it. Okay, next slide, please. Electrical. This is the section out of 600.3. All signs need to be listed. The fixed, mobile, portable electric signs, all the sections shall be listed and labeled, provided with installation instructions, and installed in conformance with that listing, unless otherwise approved by special permission. Special permission would be an alternate means and methods request, or it could potentially be a filled listing by an approved body that comes out and applies filled listing labels to elements in the field. Okay, next slide, please. If it's a storefront, then our inspections are going to include the placement of the sign, the size, shape, and orientation, the attachment methods, those nationally recognized testing lab labels I talked about, and then an electrical inspection. The electrical may be included with the original construction of the shell, and in most cases, you're just tying into the existing electrical, but we're going to verify that it's still in good working order and that it meets the requirements. Okay, next slide. This is a detail of some letter attachments. So depending on what type of attachment, then it may require special inspection before you cover or conceal. Okay, next slide. Nationally recognized testing lab, I touched on that. These are found on OSHA's website. UL is the most widely recognized, but they're not the only one. All these independent labs perform certification and on certain products to ensure that they meet the requirements of both the construction and general industry OSHA electrical standards. Those labels should be affixed to the signs. And electrical, next slide. Yeah. Electrical, if you have a monument or a pylon sign, there's going to be underground electrical running out to it. There's minimum cover requirements depending on the type of electrical raceway that's employed, and then also the location. So refer to those tables that tell you those minimum burial depths and the required coverage for those electrical service conductors. Okay, next slide. And then those signs shall have a disconnecting means that shall be accessible and located in accordance with 600.6, A1, 2, and 3, at the point of entry to the sign, or within sight of the sign, or within sight of the controller. Those are all, they should be detailed on your approved plans, and we'll verify that during inspection. Okay, next slide, please. Again, more electrical. So grounding and bonding, equipment grounding conductor, metal equipment of signs, outline, lighting, and skeleton tube system shall be grounded by connections to the equipment grounding conductor of the supply branch circuits or feeder, using the types of equipment grounding conductors as specified in 250.118. And then bonding of metal parts of equipment of signs and outline lighting systems shall be bonded together, and to the associated transformer or power supply equipment grounding conductor of the branch circuit or feeder supplying the sign or outline lighting system, and shall meet the requirements of 250.90. Okay, next slide, please. If there's any inspection questions, you can email developing@clarkcountynv.gov, call 702-455-8040, or reach out to any of the inspection supervisors or to myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So for our disclaimer, the information is current at the time of the presentation, but our procedures are subject to change as we are dedicated to making improvements to our processes and improving our customer service. You can always visit our website for up-to-date information on all of our programs. And so now we're going to begin our question and answer session. So Selena, will you please stop the recording? And then all Clark County employees, if we'll go ahead and turn on our cameras.